Hello, and welcome. It's yet another beautiful Sunday here at Mizpah TV, and I'm glad to bring this program, Sifa na Ibada, the first section of the counselor's desk. It is me, Mrs. Jane Nganga, a counseling psychologist. Welcome and welcome again, and I would want to welcome you back. We have had a time when we had our congress. I hope you're watching me there and you attended the congress. It was wonderful. It was such a blessing. And because of that, our last Sunday we had a break, and therefore I would want us to continue with the topic that we had started earlier on. And because of the break, I would want to have a bit of a recap. So our topic was on trauma in children. Trauma in children. We said that according to studies, it has been realized that a lot of adults have certain behaviors that are as a result of the trauma they experienced in children. And therefore we took a bit of time to look at the causes of trauma in children. But maybe just before that, we need to remind ourselves, what is trauma? We say that trauma is as a result. It is as a result of a distressing or a shocking experience that has a lasting impact in a person's life. These experiences, sometimes they can be very sudden, or sometimes a person can be exposed to experiences that have lasting impacts in their lives that are distressing for quite a period of time. And therefore, children, when they experience trauma, whether it is sudden and it is shocking, or they have been exposed for a long period, we say those are the formative years of a human being, and therefore those traumatic experiences, they go a long way to shape the character, the behavior, the way of thinking of that person, even their emotional state, the way they handle their emotions. So trauma is something that is important for us to deal with. And because, like I've said, the formative years are important, that's why we started to focus on trauma in children. What are some of the causes? What are some of the things that make a child to have trauma? Number one, we said, is neglect. Kuachilia mtoto. And maybe when a child is born, they are the basic things that a child is supposed to be given. The basic one being food, being fed, being secure, having comfort. And when those things are not provided, they could be the start of trauma in a child. When a child is not given the necessary conditions of growth, the warmth, the comfort, the care, the bonding with the parents, when those significant things are missing or they are not provided, in plenty, then they definitely start shaping the way of thinking, the way of feeling, and eventually the behavior of a child. And it can be evident even when a child is very, very small. So today we are going to be looking at some of those signs. How can you be able to tell that a child is experiencing trauma or has gone through traumatic experiences? You could be a parent and you don't know whether your child has gone through traumatic experiences. You could be a certain caregiver. You could be a teacher. You could be a teacher of Sunday school. those people who are close to children at a certain age, when they are able to express themselves, and you can be able to tell something is off. There's something that's not okay with this child. So what are those signs and symptoms that you can be able to identify a child who has gone through traumatic experiences? And I want to trust that with time, we shall look at the effects when a child has gone through traumatic experiences in their formative years. What are the effects mostly when they are seen in the adult life? So our focus for today is how you can tell, or the signs and symptoms of a child who is undergoing traumatic experiences, or who has undergone traumatic experiences. So here I want to be general, because a child can be from day one, maybe we are talking legally up to 18 years. So between those years from 0 to 18, we have different developmental milestones. A child who is 1 year has a certain behavior. A child who is less than 3 years will be able to express certain behaviors. You know, a child who is 6 years will be different. A child who is 12 years will be different. A child who is 18 will be different. So here, you will allow me to focus on children who are a bit young. Maybe we can say from maybe around up to 6 years. Those children who can be able to express their behaviors, they can be able to speak. Their world has become bigger. It has moved from just being with the immediate caregiver at home. This caregiver could be the parents. It could be another caregiver that you have given the responsibility. It could be siblings. It could be grandparents. Maybe if you are in our traditional African setup where you also have the grandparents around. So these are the people who are there. But as the child grows, their world becomes bigger. The people around them become more. For before maybe even they go to school, they have gone maybe to church. Their world has become bigger. They go to kindergarten. They go to preschool. From there, they go to the primary school. Their world is becoming bigger. By the time they are 6, 7 years, they are already in primary school. And definitely, their world has become bigger. The people who are close to them have become more. And therefore, how can you be able to tell this child, whether you are the caregiver immediately, whether you are the Sunday school teacher, whether you are the teacher in school, whether you are the grandparent or an auntie who has come into contact with this child? So some of these things, if you are the caregiver or the parent, that child will be having sleeping problems. When a child is very young, they could be, they're expected to sleep a lot, because it is during sleep that children grow. It is during sleep that our body is able to rest and rejuvenate. And sleep is very key in our lives. So if a child is having trouble sleeping, it could be an indicator they have experienced a certain kind of trauma. And maybe the child fell when they were being taken care of. Maybe you're a parent who is working, you have come, you've left a child with a caregiver. Maybe the child fell. Maybe the child was abused. We have seen on social media caregivers abusing children, very small children. Maybe the child is having trouble eating. They are not, maybe they don't want a certain kind of food, and the caregiver slaps the child, shouts at the child, or the child is left neglected without being changed for a long time, without being fed. But maybe, mama, when you are coming back, you meet when things are perfect. But when you get into contact with the child, maybe mostly at night, you find your child is having trouble sleeping. Or even when they are much older, 3 years, 4 years, they are having trouble sleeping. I can give you a personal experience. When my son was going to preschool, I have been working. And I remember I learned much later when I dismissed that caregiver that my son was being abused on his way to school. After picking him from school, he could be left at the door with the keys and be instructed, do not leave this place until I come back. I never knew. So those are some of the experiences that children can go through, and you realize they are traumatized, but you think things are okay. But what are the telltale signs? Trouble sleeping, or they miss to fall to sleep. Maybe when you want to leave in the morning, they cry a lot. They want to cling to you. They don't want to leave you. They are always wanting to be with you, and you never understand. Maybe the child doesn't have the proper language to express themselves, to tell you, Mom, I'm having a problem. Papa, I'm having a problem. Okay, they could also be having nightmares. They wake up at night, they are startled, and they are screaming in their, out of their sleep. When they are much older, they could have trouble concentrating in school. Yeah, they could also have problems getting along with the family members. They could have trouble getting along with the rest of the children. Maybe your child is playing with the others and they have a problem, coping. They fight a lot. They want to defend themselves. They cry a lot, and such things. Another thing is lack of appetite. They have trouble eating. They are either maybe eating a lot, or they are not eating. Maybe you need to find out what is happening around your child. What is happening? When they are much older, when they go to school, generally, if the child was performing very well and they were excited about school, then you realize there is a sudden change. They don't want to go to school. They hate school. Maybe the things that they could be able to do well, they have changed with the time. Yeah. Performance. They could be able to read. And all of a sudden is like they no longer know how to read. Yes, there are children who start off very well, very smart. But you as a parent, you realize at a certain point you start wondering, what happened to my child? My child was very good. Find out what could have happened around the people around this child. It could be being bullied in school by other children. It could be being abused, maybe by their caregivers or by other people around them. Something has significantly, changed. And it shows that something has definitely happened in the life of your child. I want to pause a bit there so that we can have a short break. And when we come back, I'll give you a few more things to look out into your child that can tell that your child is traumatized. See you when we come back.
2025 is just around the corner. With hearts full of gratitude and excitement, Apostle Jesse and Reverend Margaret Karanja, together with the Mizpah Family Church, invite you to the Prophetic Crossover Festival. This is a sacred time of thanksgiving, 247 worship, prayer, and the powerful release of the prophetic word as we usher in the new year together. Step boldly into 2025, empowered and ready for greater things. For more information, contact Mizpah at 0727 766 553.
Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Psalm 100 verse 4. Sunday is a great day to give thanks and praises to our God. That is why Mizpah House of Prayer invites you for a Sunday worship service every Sunday from 9 a.m. A time of worship, prayer, and the prophetic word. Come for hope, fellowship, spiritual growth, and encouragement. We would love to have you. Join us in person or catch us live on Mizpah TV and our social media platforms. Tukutane Church.
Mizpah TV, keeping the fire of the altar burning.
Welcome back, and we are going to continue by looking at some signs, some things that you can look out for that can be telltale signs that your child is undergoing trauma. So another key thing that can tell you something is off is when a child who is a bit advanced in age has gotten back to some things that they had stopped, or some behaviors, or some, experiences that they had and they are coming back to them. We call that regression. To regress is to go back. A key one is bedwetting. A child had stopped bedwetting, and you find that they are advanced in age. They could be 6 years, they could be 10 years, 12, 15. They're in high school and they have gone back to bedwetting, and it had stopped, and then they come back. When they are much younger, you may find them sucking the thumb. That could be an indicator. Another thing is that they want to cling to you. The way they were clinging to you before, maybe they have a bit advanced in age, and they are also clinging back to you. Yes, today I'm sharing my personal experiences with my children. When I took my girl to boarding school, I had this experience that every time we went to visit my girl, she used to cry a lot. And she used to, it forced us sometimes to go pick her during the weekend. We stay with her. But even on taking her back on Sunday, she would refuse and insist, take me on Monday morning. So we take her on Monday morning. And on Monday morning, this girl is still crying. That's a big indicator. I may not go into details, but it tells you something is definitely not going right. This child is being abused or being bullied by others in school, or maybe by the people you have entrusted them to, that is maybe the teachers. Okay? So clinging. A child is clinging back to you, and they were carefree children. They have gotten to an age where they can be on their own, but they are clinging back to you as a parent. Another one is emotional outbursts. Maybe the child becomes very angry, they become very irritable, they throw things around, they are moody. You actually do not understand them. and maybe you are able to rule out, because maybe they may be going through adolescence, but you definitely find that this one is not because of the change into, from childhood to adulthood. That's what we call adolescence. They are not going through this transition. This behavior is not associated to that. Another one is a child may be trying to tell you something and you ignore. Anakwambia, mami, kulikuwa na wewe una ignore mtoto. There could be ways a child is trying to get to you, to tell you that something is happening or has happened into their life. But you as a parent or a caregiver, a teacher, you dismiss this child. Especially, I am a teacher. We can't dismiss, because maybe you're having a lot of children to attend to. But when this child comes to you, you think they are disturbing you. It is always important to stop and listen. And maybe if you listen once, twice, thrice, you can be able to tell a child who wants attention, why do they want this attention from you? Why do they want to come and tell you things? Could it be that they are being shut and being silenced somewhere? Like my son used to be silenced. Do not tell anybody. And so the child grows like this, but when they find somebody who is caring, maybe a teacher in school, this is the person they want to tell, but the teacher dismisses. Be on the lookout for that. And with that, allow me to look into some Bible verses. Some Bible verses that can speak to us as caregivers, as parents, as people who are entrusted with children, to encourage us to go through this, or even as individuals. You could be an adult and you are watching me there, and you definitely now realize the experiences or the behaviors you have today, your emotions, your way of thinking as an adult is as a result of the traumatic experiences that you underwent during your childhood. And I hope we shall be able to have a chance where we can be able to talk about that as an adult, what can you do? But for now, allow me to read some Bible verses to encourage all of us. 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 7. This is what it says. Casting all your anxieties on him, because he cares for you. This encourages us to bring our worries and fears to God. Encouraging us to bring our worries and our fears to God. I'm speaking to you through this fast today, knowing that God does use individuals to reach out to you. You can cast your cares, surrender totally to God, but also I would encourage you that you can use people, you can speak to people close to you who are being used of God, and cast your anxieties, share your fears, share your experiences. And at this point, I would recommend that it's always important to look for professional help. If you are one of those people I've mentioned, you have gone through that and you realize now as an adult, or you are realizing this is what is happening to your child, please seek help. If it's your child in school, go meet the teacher. If it is in church, talk to the Sunday school teacher. Get to understand what is happening. Use people who are being used of God, as also we cast our cares to God. Use people who are being used of God. And I want to use this platform also to encourage all of us always it's important to seek for professional help. When you are sick, when you find there is something wrong with your body, and you go to seek medical help from a doctor. Also, you can seek for professional help when we have psychological matters. Look for a counselor. I am a professional counselor myself, and we are going to run a number in our church number here, where you can always contact us, and you can be referred to a counselor, or you can search, you can Google for the counselors around you, whichever place you are in the world. Look for counseling helpers around you. You Google for that, you can get. Search for professional help, because psychological issues of trauma that disturb us, you can be helped. Just the way you look for professional help when we are sick, we go to hospital. The same way we can look for professional help when we have psychological matters like trauma, whether it's for your child or it's for you as an adult. I want to read one more verse, or even two. John 16 and verse 3 says, "In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world." This reminds us that while we face challenges, we can find peace in Christ. When we are facing challenges, when we take a step into the right direction, having to look for professional help, having to look for peace in Christ, casting all our cares like we have been told, you can become an overcomer. Encourage yourself and tell yourself that you can become an overcomer. With Christ, you are an overcomer. You and Christ are a powerhouse. You and Christ will make it, because Christ is the source of all our strength. He's the one who can penetrate our souls. He's the one who can penetrate our mind, and he's the one who can influence and shape our behavior. So even just like we go for medical attention, and I'm encouraging you to look for professional help, but at the end of the day, Christ is our all in all. I want to thank you for watching, and make sure that you stay connected for our episodes that you'll be following. You can also continue watching us in YouTube. You can watch us again, the many episodes we have had in Facebook. And I also want to encourage you to give us feedback when you watch us on Facebook or you are watching us in YouTube. Give us a like, share this content, comment there, ask questions, so that we can have feedback from you, and we can also get to understand, what is it that you would want us to be addressing in this program. So stay tuned, and until next time, have a great Sunday.
"2025 is just